which brings us to, is it okay? Is this bad? Am I in trouble for doing this? And the answer is yes and no. It really, really depends. Let's just run through the bullet points first. Some websites just don't want you to scrape them. Just like in Python, we can make variables kind of private, pseudo-private. We can ask people, please, this is not for you to use outside the class, but there's nothing stopping them. Kind of the same thing with scraping. A lot of developers and companies try and make their data harder to scrape. They're constantly updating the HTML, changing structures. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. And they try and make it hard, but they can't actually prevent you from doing it, because by making their HTML available to all of their users, they're making it available to any user who wants to write code to scrape. But there is a system in place. There's a way for a website to tell you that they want or don't want certain pages to be accessed by programmatic or by code. And it's called the robots.txt file. And this is a website's way of saying, we don't want any code accessing all of these pages, but this page is okay. But it is not law, it's not rule, it's just convention. And sometimes people might say it's wishful thinking on the part of the websites. For example, I'm now on IMDb. Let's say that I wanted to, download data about directors, and I was trying to figure out, some statistics about how many female directors there are on all of IMDb. I would scrape all directors' data, and maybe I want to find, what city in England has produced the most directors, something crazy like that. Well, we could go and find all directors, and then for each page, we would get some information, whatever we want. Remember, it's HTML. It's a lot messier than what we see. But before we do anything, if we were a thoughtful developer, we could consult the robots.txt file. So it's imdb.com/robots.txt. And this is the guidelines. And you can see, it's actually kind of funny. For some reason, they've singled out Yahoo's Slurp crawler and that code, and they've disallowed almost everything. I think they may have allowed it to do a little bit more than what they've disallowed for everyone else. So there's two sections on here. If you are Yahoo's code versus everyone else. And everyone else basically has everything disallowed, every part of the page. And if we compare that, I haven't actually gone through and compared, but I'm not sure if they're allowed or disallowed more or fewer items. It's unclear to me, but it doesn't matter, because what we can see here is that pretty much everything is disallowed. So things like movies, we can't look at /movies with code, or we're not supposed to. Comments, actors, actresses, TV schedules, awards, directors, everything that we would care about, it's unavailable to us according to this. Like I said, it's not set in stone, but this is what they're asking us not to do. Compare this to the robots.txt file on rhythmschool.com. This is a boot camp in San Francisco that I work with, and a couple of my friends started it. You can see it's a lot more forgiving. User agent star means anyone, wherever you're coming from, you're allowed to access everything. That's what this is signifying here. So it's way more forgiving. There's no exceptions, there's no disallows compared to IMDb. One thing I'd like to point out is that if you are scraping, you want to be polite either way. If you're doing it with the blessing of the website or you're doing it sneakily, you want to, if you're making a ton of requests, like if we were trying to scrape Craigslist, not that we should, and I'll tell you why in just a second, there's been some lawsuits involved, but if we wanted to try that and we wanted to get every page, not just the high-level data for the apartments, but I wanted the full description where I have to actually open up each apartment and click on a link or programmatically request it, then that means we might be working with, 100,000 or more a day. We want to space the requests out. So we don't want to just constantly be making these requests one after another over and over and over, way faster than any human would. And that's, for one reason, that's to be polite. We don't want to overload their servers, but also if they notice, like if the developers or a server notices 100,000 requests coming from one IP address, then it's very clear that somebody is scraping them. So you want to be polite, and you want to space things out if you're going to be repeatedly scraping over and over and over. So now I have a cautionary tale. So this Craigslist Inc. versus 3Taps Inc., it has a Wikipedia page. It's a lawsuit that, as far as, I'm no legal scholar, but this was big news back in the day, at least on developer circles, when was this? It was a couple of years ago, 2012, where it was a court case where this company, 3Taps Inc., was scraping Craigslist and using their data to build. They weren't just analyzing it like I was talking about. They built another website, I believe. And what happened is that Craigslist didn't approve of that, and they weren't able to just sue immediately. So it's not like, and I'm not giving legal advice, just a disclaimer here, but as far as I understand, you could not be sued or go to jail or be fined or something simply for scraping. But once a cease and desist letter has been sent, this says that sending a cease and desist letter and enacting an IP address block is sufficient notice of online trespassing, which a plaintiff can use to claim a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. So Craigslist wasn't a fan. They found out about it. They sent a cease and desist, and they blocked the IP address of 3Taps Inc. That was enough to basically count as online trespassing. In the end, Craigslist won. 3Taps had to shut down. They had to pay $1 million, which was donated to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Overall, the point that I'm trying to make here is that scraping is potentially problematic, and you do want to be careful. You don't want to just launch a website or a company that, relies on scraping. And especially if you do get a cease and desist, like I said, or they block your IP address, then you probably should stop scraping. And I thought Craigslist was not involved with this sort of thing anymore, but in doing the search to find that Wikipedia page, I found this article just from about a year ago now, that this company RadPad was sued by Craigslist, and they were scraping data from Craigslist and making their own front end. And I'm not sure of the details, but there was a $60 million penalty that RadPad had to pay. And if you're interested, I think what RadPad actually did was that they went on Craigslist, and you know how on Craigslist it generates these emails for you, these like obfuscated hidden emails that you can reply to? I think they were scraping and grabbing all of those email addresses and then sending emails and spamming them, something like that. So that's why the penalty was so massive. Okay, so hopefully you can see it's a really messy world of scraping and just of internet privacy in general. So we're going to stay away from anything potentially in that gray area. We're going to scrape my own sites and sites that I've worked on where we have permission to scrape. I didn't feel good about sending thousands of people potentially to go scrape some site that may change their mind. And that also ties into the fact that when a website changes, if they catch on that they're being scraped, often they will change their HTML and basically break your code. And I didn't want that to happen in this course as well. So we have some other examples we will be scraping. You can take what you learn in this section and apply it anywhere, but just be responsible, like I said. Okay.